In this video, we will identify equations, terms, factors, constants, variables, and coefficients. An equation is a symbolic statement that two expressions or quantities are equal in value. An equation may be true or false. To verify that an equation is true, first find the value of the expression on each side of the equal sign. Then compare the values for each side. If the values for each side are equal, the equation is true. If the values for each side are different, the equation is false. For example, verify that these statements are true equations. First, we have 3 times 8 equals 24. We know that 3 times 8 is 24, and we know that 24 is equal to 24. So both sides have the same value, and the equation is true. Then we have 12 minus 3 equals 2 plus 7. 12 minus 3 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. Both sides have the same value, so the equations are true. Some equations contain a missing value. We solve an equation by finding the value that makes the equation true. We use symbols called variables to represent the missing values in the equation. Generally, variables are letters with X being the most common and letters that have specific meaning in math, like O, E, or I, rarely being used as variables. O looks like a 0, E is Euler's number, which is about 2.71828182846. You're not going to need to know that in this class. And I is the imaginary unit, the square root of -1, and you're also not going to need to know that in this class. For example, find the value of the variable that makes the equation true. So for part A, we've got x equals 3 plus 8. 3 plus 8 is 11, so x is 11. That makes the equation true. 18 divided by 3 equals n, and 18 divided by 3 is 6, so n must be 6. Y equals 3 times 4 minus 5. 3 times 4 minus 5 is 12 minus 5, which is 7. So y equals 7. The symmetric property of equality says if the sides of an equation are interchanged, the equality of the statement is maintained. Symbolically, if A equals B, then B equals A, where A and B are any real numbers. Factors are numbers or variables that are multiplied. Terms are algebraic expressions that are single quantities or products or quotients of quantities. A term can be a single number, a single variable, the product of numbers and variables, or the quotient of numbers and variables. To identify terms, first separate an expression into terms by identifying addition or subtraction signs that are not within a grouping. The sign of each term is the sign that precedes the term. 3 times A plus B is 2 terms, whereas 3 times A plus B is 1 term, since that grouping makes this 3 times the whole A plus B. Minus a -3 over A plus B is also 1 term. So for example, we will list the terms in each expression. 3x plus 5, the terms are 3x and 5. 2ab plus 4a minus b plus 2 times a plus b, we have 4 terms here. The terms are 2ab, 4a, negative b, and 2 times a plus b. 2a plus 1 over 3, there is only 1 term. It is 2a plus 1 over 3. If we have 2a over 3 plus 1, the terms are 2a over 3 and 1. A term that contains only numbers is called a constant. A term that contains variables is called a variable term. A variable term may also contain numbers and may contain multiple variables. In a term that has a numeric part and a variable part, the numeric part is called the coefficient. The coefficient is usually written at the beginning of the term before the variable part. I will note here that the book says that in any if a term has more than one variable part, all of the variables are coefficients of each other, but that is not something I've seen in any other book, and I don't believe that it is a necessary thing to go with here. I'm just going to say your coefficient should be the negative number, or it should be the number that's attached to the variables. And if, I'm going to add this here, if there is no numeric part in a term, the coefficient is 1. After all, we know that, say, x equals 1 times x, because anything times 1 is itself. To identify the coefficient of a term, since a term contains only factors, the coefficient is the numeric factor or product of numeric factors. If the term is a fraction, first write the numeric factor in the denominator as an equivalent multiplication. Then write the product of all numeric factors. The numeric coefficient is the product from step 2b. For example, identify the numeric coefficient in each term. So here, let's use one that's, I'm going to use blue for this. It shows up better. Okay, so if we have 2x, the numeric coefficient, which I am just calling coefficient, is 2. Negative 3ab, there is our coefficient, negative 3. 4x plus 3, our coefficient is 4. Negative n over 3, well, this is the same as negative 1/3 n. So our coefficient is negative 1/3. Finally, we have 2b over 5. The coefficient, this is equivalent to 2/5 b. So that's 2/5 for our coefficient.